if everyone's ready, we can actually get started. All right. Hi, everyone. I am Mona Vij from Intel Labs, and I've been working with confidential computing long before the term was also coined. And yeah, I have been working in Intel Labs for over 25 years. So let me first start by saying what do I mean by pervasive confidential computing. I think someone mentioned the term during the day at least once. Basically, pervasive confidential computing is this deployment of confidential computing on all the devices on this device to cloud continuum. We have the edges, we have the devices, phones, tablets, PCs, and network edge, core network, and then the data center. Some of you may have seen this slide several times before. Basically with this, and again, we have heard this theme over and over again, so I'll go through quickly in this part of my talk. So with this emergence of this whole data-centric computing, the need for data privacy and security has emerged in pretty much all verticals, as shown on this slide. And we can very safely say confidential computing can make some of these use cases possible. But I can also say very confidently that these are use cases that we desire to implement with confidential computing. Many of them are not deployed in practice. And that's basically because we have quite a bit of work on our hands to do to make these a reality. But if we want to meet the promise of these use cases, I can safely say confidential computing will be pervasive. So before I jump into my talk, let me quickly give you a bit of a history. Like I said, I've been working in this space for quite some time. So confidential computing, the term emerged sometime back in 2015 with the release of Intel SGX. And at the time, the use cases were around DRM, key manager, but it became very evident to us very quickly that the demand is actually in the cloud. That's where people are scared to move their data, and that's where they want the solutions like confidential computing. So practically, trusted execution environments, which form the basis for confidential computing, were released by almost all the hardware vendors. And so today, we have confidential computing. We call it cloud confidential computing. But I would like to call it basically just lift and shift or confidential outsourcing. You take your workload and you wrap it in a TE and deploy it in the cloud. And it works, but it's pretty simplistic, right? You have a single developer, single deployer, maybe single user. But the use cases that I showed you on the previous slide, most of them actually require what we call distributed confidential computing. Cloud is already distributed today. We know how to deploy these applications across different multi-clouds or across cloud to edge. But to be able to make it confidential, we have to figure it. There are quite a few challenges we need to deal with. There are multiple owners, there are multiple users, there's data coming from different parties, and you've heard that theme also earlier today. And last but not the least, there is this other space emerging, which we call the decentralized cloud computing or the Web3. And that space is made possible by blockchain and confidential computing. That space, actually, confidential computing is used natively. So I like to call it confidential native. That's a space where people are building applications from scratch using confidential computing. But today's talk, I'll actually focus just on distributed confidential computing. So jumping in, and you've seen some use cases, and I sort of broadly mentioned distributed confidential computing. Let me sort of use this mocked up example. In this example, say you have a user has a watch, you're pushing all your private data to the cloud, possibly subscribe to a service, heart attack detection service offered by your hospital. And effectively, at some point in time, if there are signs you're having a heart attack, you can get notified, and you can get help. And in this case, you have multiple data owners. There's hospital, there's a user. There are multiple service providers. There's the entity that built the service. There's the cloud. And then there are multiple locations also in this slide. I don't really show something on the edge, but there's likely some sort of service deployed on the edge as well. So there are clearly quite a few parties involved, and confidential computing can make this possible today. Today, actually these kind of services are deployed, but they're deployed by this, what I like to call institutional trust. The user just trusts the hospital to do the right thing. Hospital just trusts the cloud provider to not sort of leak their sensitive data. And so beyond trusting the institutions, we are also trusting a large body of code. And we've also heard earlier people talk about privilege escalation attacks and sort. So today, we can probably, with what's available out there, we can build a use case like this. And I've shown these dotted lines, which basically says, hey, you can deploy an attestation service. You can probably build a key manager, effectively wrap each of these services into a trusted execution environment. And typically how it works is you deploy when the service runs, you attest to an attestation service, they would provision a certificate, and from that point on, it's business as usual, like you would be working in a distributed computing environment where you basically rely on certificates. There is no notion of continuous trust evaluation. So I would say while we're deploying some of these use cases with confidential computing today, we are sort of just doing it in an ad hoc way. We need to rethink this distributed confidential computing somewhat from scratch, rather than trying to work in context of what already exists. Trying to retrofit security, while it can work, it won't scale in the longer term. So to sort of address this at Intel, a lot of it is driven by Intel Labs and broader Intel. We are looking at 3 development vectors. So trusted execution environments are at the heart of confidential computing. So we are looking at building scalable trusted execution environments. When I say scalable, we mean both granularity and heterogeneity. And then the second vector is this enlightened infrastructure. So I talked about cloud and the edge. We really need to go enlighten it with confidential computing. There is some work already happening, like with confidential containers, and some work with service meshes. And last but not the least, we have this, what I call the trust coordination. You heard about attestation a lot, but we have to go beyond attestation. You can only learn so much by doing attestation. You can know you're running on a good node, and you're running some body of code. But to be able to make useful assertions out of attestation, we need to do a lot more work. So yes, so the rest of this talk, I will go through each of those vectors. Of course, my team, we have done most work in the bottom vector to build the scalable, trusted execution environments. So I mentioned granularity. So Intel offers trusted execution environments at application level as well as the virtual machine level. So you can choose which one you need to use based on your application needs. Because sometimes you may be deploying some native applications, you want a smaller trusted computing-based versus running a full virtual machine. So if you run an application today, most of you know you have a pretty large TCB. You have the BIOS and hypervisor and operating system in your TCB. So with something like TDX, you can get it out. You can get all the host software out of your TCB, but you still have the guest software in your trusted computing base, which is a fairly large TCB, but it can give you the ease of use that several people have talked about earlier in the day. But with SGX, you have only the little code that runs in your enclave and the hardware in your TCP. So Intel is the only company that offers this level of trusted execution environments at both the levels of granularity. So not only we have these TEs, we actually continue to innovate in all of them. So as SGX has been around since 2015, TDX was recently announced, but we continue to enhance them. And I will actually just give you a flyby view of some of the work we are doing with both SGX and TDX. And then we have done some software innovations also to build on top of our TEs. So first of all, Srini is here. We heard him talk about how no one cares about side channels. Actually, I care a lot about side channels, and it takes time to get something in your hardware. So we've been working on this feature to take care of side channel attacks in SGX for quite some time. And so, SGX offers the strongest threat model out there. Basically, there's no software other than the enclave is in your trusted computing base. And that also makes your adversaries really powerful, right? If they are root users or if they're running on a next thread next to you, they can mount a large classes of attacks. And one of the tools that our academic partners built is called SGX Step. And that basically allows you to single step through an enclave. And while SGX Step is itself not an attack, it makes a lot of other attacks very, very powerful or at a finer granularity. So what we did was we didn't want to go fix this side channel or that side channel. We actually built this new ISA extensions for SGX, which allows an enclave to specify a handler. So every time you have an interrupt or an exception, when you resume, an enclave in the software can take some actions. We actually did not do anything in the hardware, because that's, again, would be very limiting. But in the software now, the enclave can do anything. It can either bring in your next set of instructions or the code or the data pages in the caches, so your next few instructions are really fast. And we actually built this whole, not just the hardware. Hardware is actually will be available on all server class platforms, as well as the software will be released. As actually in the next few weeks, we should see the software published as part of the SDK. And it's extensible. The users can choose to write their own handlers. And we actually also have this paper that'll be presented at Usenix Security in August, where we have a pretty detailed deep dive on the mitigation. And we did this work jointly with the authors of SGX Step. So they have, so we've gone through quite a bit of scrutiny to see if it really makes SGX Step useless or more difficult. Okay, so very exciting piece of work coming up on all server hardware that support SGX. TDX, so I mentioned TDX also. TDX is just introduced, so there are lots of new features that are coming in. Some of this was mentioned recently, but I'll quickly mention the features we have on TDX. TD partitioning, it basically provides support for unenlightened guest OS. So today, if you want to run a guest OS or a Linux in your TD, you have to enlighten it for TDX. But there's a desire to run completely unmodified guest OS. So what we can do is we can run an L1 VMM. Increases your TCB again, but gives you the flexibility. So it's a choice, again, users make as to what they want to run. TD migration will allow TDs to be migrated, which is supposed to be an important feature in the cloud. TD preserving allows you to suspend and resume your TDs, while the TD module, which is sort of implements this TDX feature, is being upgraded. It could be for security reasons or performance reasons or whatever. But the most exciting feature that was announced recently is TDX Connect. It allows, it's basically a standards-based approach to extend your trusted TCB from CPUs to any devices that support confidential computing. So it's built on top of standards. If the device supports one of the existing standards from PCIe or I guess SPDM, there are three or four standards that it's built on. So as long as the device supports that, we can build this end-to-end trusted execution environment. Yes, okay. So with that, I mentioned the innovations in the software as well. So while we have SGX, we have SGX SDK. You may have also heard that it's really very difficult to use. Users don't want to partition their applications. And so we have, we built Grameen Library OS. So Grameen actually is a multi-process library OS that allows you to run unmodified Linux applications. So it has a really nice modular architecture, so you can build a platform adaptation layer. So today we have a Linux and a SGX layer, but we are also now adding TDX support to it. And some people, actually someone asked me earlier today, why do you need to add TDX support to Grameen. So while with SGX, we wanted ease of use where you can run unmodified applications. With TDX, we actually want to give you a small TCB. You may want to just run a little unikernel in your TD. You don't want to run the full guest OS or a whole VMM or whatever else is offered by default. And it's a completely open source project. It's community developed and maintained. On GitHub, we are doing quarterly releases. We actually have a release coming up in a week or so, 1.5. Check it out, and feel free to ask me any questions on this. And then I'm also quite excited to say, I think Lily just presented the projects, but Grameen was the first project to move from sandbox to incubation in CCC. And actually, none of the TEs are very useful without attestation, so we integrate with several different attestation backends, almost all the ones that are, I guess, available out there. And quite proud to say, actually, I don't think I have the whole list here. Grameen is deployed in production by several of our partners. We have Cosmian here, and actually I was surprised to hear about the VMware Certifier project that they're using Grameen as well. And the other nice thing is Grameen is integrated with several of the toolkits. So for example, we have this OpenVINO security add-on. So if you're using OpenVINO, you automatically get to use trusted execution. If you're using BigDL analytics for data analytics from Intel, you automatically get these trusted execution features. So they build this BigDL privacy-preserving machine learning platform. Again, Grameen is at the basis of it. So yeah, so quite exciting, and we continue to develop this project along with the community. Community is continuing to grow. This is one of the projects that started as an academic project, but in full production today. Okay. The second one, this one actually happens to be a research POC at the moment. So I mentioned TDX Connect. While it's great, we have TDX Connect coming up, but while we wait for the hardware to be available, and as you all know, it takes time for hardware features to show up. So in the meantime, we wanted to see what can we do with the existing hardware. So we actually built this unified enclaves, which we call unified CPU, GPU enclaves. And not sure how many of you are familiar with Intel's data center GPU. So there is this Flex series GPUs that have a technology called protected XCPath. And actually, the technology was developed for DRM, hardware DRM. And we are repurposing it for running inferencing OpenCL workloads. So PXP actually sort of gets your workload, it encrypts it, and then it sort of sends it to your GPU. And we combined it with SGX to be able to protect all the way from SGX to our GPUs. And many of you may also know the GPU stack is very, very complicated. So, and the way it interacts with the hardware or the Ring 0 driver is through ioctls. So in Grameen, we added support for running unmodified ioctls to be able to, you can just specify the format of your ioctls, and Grameen automatically supports it. So again, through Grameen, we were able to run unmodified PXP stack, and we were able to do it. We call it zero copy buffers because we use this untrusted shared memory, because anything that goes in that shared memory is encrypted by the PXP stack. Okay, and this while it's a research POC, the PXP stack is not publicly available, but the hardware is, and I'm happy to talk to anyone who's interested in this project. Okay. The infrastructure pieces. Now I'll go very quickly. So so I'm moving on from trusted execution environments to the enlightening the infrastructure. So everybody is talking about confidential containers. We also have Grameen that works automatically with Docker containers. You sort of bring your Docker container and run it through a tool, and it will generate a Grameenized Docker container. We also have several of the popular applications that automatically run in containers. And we heard earlier today about the Confidential Containers project. Intel is actively contributing to the Confidential Container project with support for VM-based containers with Intel TDX. but we are also working very closely with the team to have native containers via Enclave CC project. So you can, it's again your choice. You can run native containers or TD-based containers. Both are supported. And Kubernetes plugins is at the heart of it. While everyone's deploying it, the basis of exposing SGX to the cloud native world is through Kubernetes. So again, Intel, broader Intel is very, very involved in all of these projects. And the trust coordination, while we are just beginning to spend some time here, I really wanted to highlight this attestation interoperability. So we've heard, again, attestation is an important feature. So it basically allows you to verify that you are actually indeed running in a trusted execution environment. But in most of the TEs, after you do the attestation, you sort of verify that you're running in a good known environment, and then you actually establish a secure channel so you can get keys or secret provisioned. And the most popular channel is TLS. So very early on, we actually built this, I guess we wrote a paper back in 2017 called RATLS, where attestation was integrated directly into TLS using some CERT extensions. And while we implemented, I guess, one of the versions with Grameen, there were quite a few versions of this RATLS for floating out there. There was one from Alibaba called RATS TLS, there was a tested TLS, and there were a few others. And this is where, through CCC attestation SIG, we actually, several of us came together, Alibaba, Microsoft, Intel, and we standardized this software protocol. Everybody was using a different OID or a slightly different format for the evidence. And so we agreed on a standardized evidence. Of course, initially focus was SGX, but it's extensible to TDX or SCV or any of the other attestations offerings. And we have both Grameen and Oculum has implemented this interoperable TLS, and you can sort of generate the attestation in one and verify in the other, which is quite nice. And I would say, I think this is one of the value add that CCC is bringing, and we need to do more of this to be able to operate across TEs, especially if we want to make this promise of pervasive confidential computing happen. So with that, I sort of gave you a flyby view of all the work we've been doing to make this reality. But like I said, we are actually nowhere near done. So what's next? So on the trusted execution, scalable trusted execution environments, while we can run, we offer this app-level isolation and VM-level isolation. The question is, can we actually scale? Can we scale to thousands of TEs? In the cloud, today nobody is running monolithic applications. We are running microservices and functions, and they come and go really fast. We need to be able to support really fast startup times and faster communication. And also, in my mind, with this whole microservices and functions, cloud providers are basically have taken the pain away from deploying these. Just all the deployment challenges are taken away from the users. You really don't know. You write your code and you deploy it. But now with confidential computing, you do not want to trust the CSPs. How do you take CSPs out of the trust boundary if you're relying on them to provide this infrastructure? So I think that tension is actually there. Can we actually still achieve it without going back to old days of transferring all the pain to the user? So still give that nice features that you get out of microservices and functions, but still be able to not have CSP in your trust boundary. And then, yes, we heard a lot about LLMs. Can we actually scale to these new classes of workloads that are emerging in front of us? And then I've already talked about, we need to extend and this LLMs or AI, ML workloads, while we can only go so far with running on CPUs. We need to extend to heterogeneous computing and also to the disaggregated computing where we have IPUs emerging. And how do we extend the trusted execution all the way to these devices? Because if most of your services are offloaded to your IPU, just doing trusted execution on your CPU is not enough. So Intel is working on all of these aspects. On the enlightened infrastructure, I really think we need to have this deep integration with the cloud. We need to go rethink our cloud operating systems or service meshes. cloud is already distributed. We are just trying to retrofit on top of it. Can we actually do closer integration of attestation into our authorization and attestation frameworks? I think there is some work happening. I heard there's some projects I wasn't aware of, but that's something we need to do. And on the trust coordination side, like I mentioned, the attestation is good, but this really just doing one-time attestation at the deployment time is not enough. We really need to think all the way from the development to deployment. The whole life cycle of your workload needs to be integrated with the trust decisions. And the continuous evaluation of trust. I guess that is one of the key points, because the way we are doing today, you attest once and then sort of provision the certificate and then you forget about it, is not going to scale. With that, I would also say that while I left out the edge a lot in this discussion, but in reality, a lot of the infrastructure pieces will apply to the edge also. Edge obviously brings a lot of new challenges with respect to the capabilities of the edge nodes and the dynamism at the edge, but we really need to solve the problem for the infrastructure at the baseline that is applied, that is, I guess, applicable to both data centers, cloud, and then also sort of look into the edge-specific problems. But yeah, with that, just wrapping up, Intel is doing a lot of work in this space, and we provide quite a few offerings at the hardware as well as software level. And then we are continuing to push the work forward to make this pervasive confidential computing a reality. So yeah, thank you. With that, I'll take any questions. Yeah. Okay, I think maybe you have to go to the microphone. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the whirlwind tour. There was a lot of material there. So real quick on that Flex PXP, the Flex CPU PXP stuff. So the way I understood it, it works only with Intel J, right? So what about like SGX with NVIDIA, with CUDA or MPI? So if you're using a PyTorch application with a nickel backend or something like that?
Sure. So should I repeat the question? No, that's good. Okay. I would say there is work going on in that space, and hopefully you'll hear about that in a different talk.
Okay.
Good answer?
I'll wait for that. Yeah, I'll wait for that. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question is, as a customer, can I use SGX and TDX at the same time? So we have two levels of security.
You mean SGX inside TDX, right?
Yes.
In the first generation, you can't. Again, there is work happening to make that possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi. Since you mentioned trust from the edge to the cloud and trust coordination, one thing that I feel it's missing is that attestation by itself can tell me what is something, but it doesn't tell me why should I trust it. I feel it's missing some form of, let's say, security certification that will allow me not to have to personally evaluate the evidence for something that should be trustworthy or not.
I agree with you totally. So that's what I guess I didn't go into details, because with attestation, the only thing we are doing is we know exactly the code what we are running. The big there, by the way, already challenges with that. We modify the code very regularly. How do you even keep up with that code? And the code is today, the code is not one piece. It also uses hundreds of other libraries, and it's pulling in all that code. You can't really make much sense out of it. So yes, we talk about, one of the things we have to do is, first of all, maybe separate code from the data. There is this idea of sort of data use policies. If I have my data, I may want to allow somebody to do certain queries or something, sort of tagging my pictures. They are allowed to look at my data, but they're not allowed to publish my pictures anywhere. So this idea of specifying the policies and building frameworks that they can actually adhere to those data use policies, that's one. But then I also want guarantees on the programmatic guarantees on when I say this particular code is allowed to touch my data, I need to know what that code is doing, and that's where the attestation will come into play. So that's what I meant. I said, when I just sort of left it very open, you have to move beyond attestation. We cannot, today we just claim, if you can do attestation, it's all good. But it's pretty weak, and the other problem is, people are not even deploying code attestations is very difficult, like I said, because of the constant upgrades. So you resort to this MR signer, which is, you just say, hey, if it's signed by so-and-so, it's all good. So in reality, we are just raising the bar this much. So that's exactly, and I think that's the long pole. That's why the trust coordination is where we need to do a lot of work, I would say, as an industry, to tease out how to make sense out of it. That's exactly. So I think that's where we are beginning to spend some time at least in our lab. And I'm actually hoping the academic community helps us out in that space. Any other questions? Okay, and I would say, go try the Grameen project if you haven't. We have made a lot of progress. If you looked at it maybe several years ago and not recently looked at it, it's great. We're making lots of progress. And actually, several of the other things I mentioned, a lot of them are open source. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions later as well. Okay, thank you.